Keyword outline, speech 4. All right. Today, I want to talk about something that affects a lot of us, the stress and anxiety caused by social expectations in college. We often hear college is supposed to be the best time of our lives, but behind this ideal image, there are a lot of pressures that can make the experience pretty overwhelming. Let's take a look at the various expectations that come our way as college students. From the moment we start college, we're hit with a ton of expectations. There are academic pressures to get good grades, land internships, and be involved with extracurriculars. Then there are social pressures to make friends, go to parties, and fit in. On top of all of that, there are also personal pressures to figure out who we are and what we are going to do with our lives. Among these pressures, personal expectations can be particularly challenging. College is a time of self-discovery, and we feel like we need to have everything figured out. Our passions, our identity, and our career path. The unnecessary the uncertainty and fear of making wrong choices can be really stressful. We often feel that we need to have all the answers right away, and that can be very overwhelming. But the truth is, we do not need to have everything figured out just yet. Adding to the complexity is the influence of social media. Social media does not help this situation at all. We're constantly bombarded with images of people living their best lives, and it's easy to compare ourselves to these carefully curated snapshots. This can make us feel inadequate and stressed about our own lives. The pressure to keep up appearances online can add another layer of anxiety. According to a study published by Jane Furwith, Alex Wang, and Krista Pernera, social media is viewed to be a key contributor to the worsening mental health in adolescence. So, what can we do to manage these pressures and protect our mental health? It is important to recognize these pressures and how they affect us. College should prioritize mental health support by offering resources like counseling service, stress management workshops, and peer support groups. According to a report by the American College Health Association, nearly 60% of college students reported experiencing overwhelming stress and anxiety in the past year, highlighting the need for robust mental health services on campus. We need to create an environment where talking about mental health is normal and stigma free. Along with institutional support, there are also personal strategies that we can adopt. As individuals, we need to be kinder to ourselves. It is okay to feel stressed and anxious sometimes. Setting realistic goals, taking care of ourselves, and asking for when we need help and asking for help when we need it are all crucial. Remember, it's fine not to have everything figured out yet. Our worth isn't defined by our grades or our status. The Mayo Clinic suggests that practicing self-care and seeking social support are key strategies for managing stress and maintaining mental health. In summary, addressing these pressures can lead to a healthier college experience for everyone. While college is a time for growth and new experiences, it is also a period filled with significant stress and anxiety due to social expectations. By acknowledging these pressures and addressing them, we can create a more supportive environment for ourselves and each other. Let's be more compassionate towards ourselves, seek help when we need it, and support one another throughout this journey. Thanks for listening.
Hey guys, so before I start, here's my keyword outline. So, how many of you guys have experienced anxiety or stress before an important test, working on an important project for your class, or even just the accumulation of work from all your classes in a week? I know that I've experienced that. And when you're attending one of the most rigorous institutions in the United States, like Texas A&M University, this can lead to anxiety and worsening mental health. So now let's deep dive together at how these emotions are caused. So since we're young, we're taught to strive for a high GPA and all the perks that come with it, getting into the university you want, the job opportunities after college, and even the benefits like certain course load you can take, certain organizations you can join on campus, certain clubs you can join. Those all come with a high GPA. Now, with that, we're also taught about the contrary, which is what happens when you have a low GPA, the consequences that come with a low GPA, maybe not getting into the college you want, or even worse, maybe getting kicked out of the college and removing opportunities from yourself. Now, this puts a lot of pressure on us to succeed in school. And with that comes academic stress and anxiety. Now, in the story of Jillian Marlowe, from an article written by Jim O'Connell, we can see that a college student was kicked out of her college, her nursing school, because her GPA slipped right under a 3. And I know you guys know how hard it is to maintain a 3 and keep a 3. You know, a lot of people struggle to just stay over a 2. And just imagine how she felt and the life altering consequences that moment had, and even the career altering consequences that might have. Maybe her dream was being a nurse and she's no longer going to be able to fulfill that. She's not in the nursing school. Now, just like Jillian, a lot of us feel that same stress. You know, what if I don't hit the minimum GPA? What if I don't get the grade I need on the test so I can stay in the college I want to, and the potential career and life implications it can have? It's scary, and it really shows how much stress that we're faced with every single day just in school. It's the anxiety of falling short of the goal of hitting your career goal. Now, I know that me personally, I have spent countless nights studying for a final exam, staying up, writing papers, and just studying as much as I can so I can do well in these classes. Now, with that comes a different type of stress, which is the stress that comes from an overwhelming workload. Now, with an overwhelming workload, there's many things that have to be considered into account. The main thing is the balance. When all you have is school and all you're doing is school, it creates such an unhealthy balance and health state for you that you just get sucked in with anxiety and stress. I know that in an article by Christine Tovar, she talks about how at a study conducted at St. John's College, over 76% of students felt that they at one point experienced moderate or severe psychological distress. Now, that's very scary, and hopefully that statistic sparks something into you to see how serious this is and how a majority of people in universities feel this way. Not only at Texas A&M, but at universities across the board. Now, with that, we also see at our school, we have football games, we have Aggie traditions, and we also have social outings. And those create, you know, a sense of wanting to go to those events, wanting to be there. Imagine having a birthday party that you want to go to and you feel like you have to go to for your best friend, but you cannot go because you have to go to an event. Or you have to study for an exam. This adds another layer to that anxiety and stress that we're already feeling with social pressure. It feels like it's too much for you, like you can't do anything about it. And it can sometimes become dangerous because you almost feel like you're less, like you can't handle the pressure, like you can't go through with it. And it can sometimes reach extreme levels. Like, for example, an article by Daniel Horton, we see that at Northumbria University in the UK, one of the students took its life at just 18 years old because of how much stress and anxiety they were feeling in such a new environment. That can't happen. It's the university's duty to help its students thrive and feel protected and safe in their learning environment. I know that sometimes I struggle with stress in school, but I work through it. And while it is difficult, Texas A&M provides a lot of facilities and a lot of people to help students through it. And that should be done around it should, excuse me, it should be more well known around campus the struggles that students are dealing with, and to create a safe and prosperous school community for stress and anxiety relating academic stress. Thank you.
This is my key outline. Okay. The college years are often portrayed as the best years of our lives, filled with experiences and boundless opportunities. However, beneath this facade lies a reality where many students struggle with the immense pressures of academic performance, social acceptance, and future uncertainties. First, let's talk about the impact of peer pressure and social dynamics in college. College is a melting pot of diverse backgrounds, ideas, and aspirations. While this diversity is enriching, it can also create a heightened sense of comparison and competition. Students often feel compelled to fit into a certain category of specific groups of people, adhere to trends, or meet the expectations set by their peers. For instance, sororities and fraternities, and various clubs and organizations. This pressure can actually manifest in multiple ways, from adopting unhealthy behaviors like excessive drinking or even substance abuse to even unrealistic body image or lifestyle. This research that I conducted was based on the article Peer Influences on College Drinking by Brian Borsari. This says peers play a considerable role in the development and maintenance of alcohol use in college students. Influence in alcohol usually goes two ways: direct and indirect. Direct means that peer influences explicitly focus on getting a person to drink with a positive gesture, but then indirectly can mean a peer forcing someone to drink who doesn't want to. Now, balancing social life with academic responsibilities is actually another significant challenge. Social events, parties, hanging out with friends can be so tempting, but it's also important that we advise to our college students that academic studies are way more important than having a good time with your friends, which takes away from the goal at hand. Now, for instance, let's take Lily, a sophomore in biology, frequently finds herself torn between going to parties, going to bars with her friends, or sticking to her studies for schoolwork. Now, despite her efforts, she struggles to maintain a balance, resulting in sleepless nights and constant stress with the buildup of anxiety. This imbalance not only affects academic performance, but also takes a toll on our mental health, leading to anxiety, burnout, and eventually depression. Now, in college, it's normal for students to feel influenced by their peers. College students are more subjected to peer pressure, actually, as they were supposed to conform the values and norms of their peers, which actually relates to academic pressure as well. Now, this conclusion was actually made by Sarah Masood of the Journal of Research in Psychology. Leading on to my next point, social pressure manifests in numerous ways, creating an environment where students feel constantly judged and evaluated, kind of like where I was getting with someone being in a sorority and fraternity. Now, let's take the example of Hannah, a freshman who just joined her university sorority. This pressure to perform and fit in and fit the standards becomes overwhelming and leads to an overwhelming load of severe anxiety and loss of self-worth. Hannah felt that she had to be perfect at everything, fearing judgment, of ridicule, and fear of her sorority sisters. Now, this intense pressure can lead to mental issues like depression, anxiety disorders, eating disorders, and in severe cases, even suicidal thoughts. Now, it's important to recognize that in this case, according to the Perceptions of Eating Behaviors, Body Image, and Social Pressures in Female Division, an article that I was researching heavily on, it says eating behaviors of students on college campuses is the leading factor and statistic, and also correlates with dissatisfaction with one's body, particularly in environments where upholding an ideal body image is prevalent. Now, this is leading on to my next point about sororities and fraternities. In this case, disordered eating in college students is often related to low self-esteem and seems to be stronger when environmental pressures to maintain like an ideal body image are present. Now, what can we do to address these certain issues? Firstly, it is crucial to foster a supportive and inclusive environment where students feel valued in their organization, their sorority, their fraternity. They feel special about themselves and not just for their achievements. There's no need to be perfect in college because, after all, we are all human and we make mistakes. Now, universities should provide accessible mental health resources and promote open discussions about mental health to reduce the stigma around it, encouraging healthy social interactions and discussions about um, promoting a balanced lifestyle can also make such a significant difference. Now, in conclusion, societal pressure and its impact on mental health are very pressing issues, especially in college students today in this world. Now, by understanding and addressing these challenges posed by peer pressure, social dynamics, and the struggle to find a balance between social life and an academic life, we can create a more supportive and healthier environment for all of the students. Now, let us work together to ensure a secret and great environment for our college students so that we can maintain a better life, so we can increase our time management skills, seek help at our campuses, like using resources like academic advising, resources and therapy, and most importantly, setting boundaries for ourselves. That concludes my talk.
$1.7 trillion. If you had $1.7 trillion, what would you spend it on? You could buy every single NFL team 10 times over and still have a couple $1 billion left over to play with. As it turns out, according to Education Data Initiative, $1.7 trillion is the amount of money owed by Americans towards student loans. This massive debt has a profound impact on the mental health of the nation and requires more awareness. We'll be discussing today the inability for people to pay back their student loans, the effect it has on their mental health, and a possible solution to this problem. Let's look at the numbers. According to an article from Bankrate, to graduate from a public university, the average student will borrow $32,637. However, many degrees, such as fine arts and early childhood education, will leave students with salaries less than $45,000 per year. These student loans, coupled with their living expenses, provide a recipe for digging themselves into a deeper financial hole. So these people have no way to pay back their student loans. Let's look at how this affects their mental health. According to a study from the University of Georgia, which studied 80,000 tweets and Reddit posts about student loans, many people are filled with sadness and fear with regards to their student debt. They also spend a large amount of time thinking about their student loans, which also is bad for their mental health. But above all, many of these people wish that they had been financially educated before they had accepted their student loans. As we can see, financial education is a necessity for people before they get their student loans. So if you have friends or family of the high school age, I encourage you to inform them about the nature of these student loans and let them know what they're getting themselves into should they choose to accept them. I also charge the audience to contact your Board of Education and ask for financial education to be part of public school curriculum. You have the power to make a difference. So $1.7 trillion is no small sum of money. Many people can't pay for this because of their chosen career path, their living expenses, and the amount of money that they owe. Many people are filled with sadness and fear, and they spend much time thinking about how they won't be able to pay back their student loans, causing a mental health crisis. And the solution to this crisis is financial education, so that people are aware of their choices and they're aware of what they're signing up for when they decide to sign up for student loan service. So, the audience, I charge you to seek out your friends and family that are in high school or thinking about going to college. Tell them what you know about student loans, the pros and cons, the dangers, and what they can realistically expect when um, when applying for these types of loans. I also charge you to contact your local congressman or your school board and petition for financial education to become part of the school curriculum so that um, so that the mental health crisis caused by student loans can be somewhat averted. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Julia Horak, and I'm going to be talking to you today about the mental health struggles on college campuses. So, over 20% of adults in the United States struggle with mental health, and a large chunk of this is college students. In an article by Avishek Kanjuri, Annabella Kwan, Hamid Samzari, and Yanga Sazavar in the Healthcare Journal, they talked about how 1 in 3 freshmen struggle with mental health, and that at least 9% of college students will experience a depressive episode. So, even though 9% might seem like a small number, depression is just one struggle that there is for mental health. So, what are some of the other struggles and what are some of the causes that mental health might be presenting itself on college campuses? So, the main 2 ways that college campuses are experiencing mental health is through anxiety and depression. These can present themselves in different ways, and students struggle with these in different ways, especially like anxiety can present itself. Maybe you're anxious about a test. Maybe you're anxious about something socially. There's different ways that it can present itself, and every single student is different. Depression can also present itself very differently, and it all depends on the student as well. And it can be maybe if you are really struggling in a class, it can kind of throw you into a depressive episode. If you are experiencing some type of struggle with like your family or being in a new environment, that can also cause that. So there are a lot of different causes. And the one thing about mental health is it's very individual. Every single person kind of experiences it differently. So it's difficult to compare. You can't compare yourself to what someone else is experiencing because everyone has different triggers. Everyone has different things that cause them to struggle. In an article by Chengzi Yi, Baoyang Yi, and Zhang Zhang in the BNC Psychology Journal, they also talked about how an unpredictable environment when you were younger can cause students to be more likely to go into a depressive episode when they were in college. So, what are some of the effects that mental health has on college students? So, one of the biggest things is it can cause low self-esteem. If you are really in your head and feeling down on yourself, you are going to think others and people around you are feeling the same way as well. And when you experience a low self-esteem, it can cause you to have low energy levels, and it can also cause you to experience certain social struggles. Mental health can affect, it might look like it affects our head, and that might be what it seems, but it can affect you physically and it can affect your relationships as well. So, a big thing is if you are struggling about mental health, talking to someone and being honest with your friends about what's going on, because that can cause so much ease on you because people will understand what's going on instead of just thinking maybe someone's blowing me off or maybe someone doesn't want to talk to me. Another effect that it can have is it can cause struggles within class. If you are anxious or depressed about something, you might not be as academically successful because you might not have the proper motivation. Maybe you're getting too in your head and you're not allowing yourself to properly absorb the material, or you're just kind of being like, oh my gosh, this is too much, and you're getting overwhelmed. And so, in an article from Flor Rocio Ramirez Martinez, Maria Teresa Villanos, Sonam Sharma, and Marie Linier, in the PLOS One journal, they talked about how COVID-19 actually affected academics and caused a lot of anxiety among students. So this was seen because a lot of students kind of went from that traditional face-to-face learning to being thrust into the virtual learning. And I don't know about other students, but for me, I personally experienced that. I had really never taken an online class before in my life. I never experienced that type of virtual learning, and all of a sudden, and this for me happened in high school, but there are a lot of college students who experienced that. I had to completely relearn how I was going to learn, and I do not learn well online. So that was something that is being seen the residual effects of, because there are a lot more online classes than there were, and students are kind of having to deal with that anxiety of how am I going to learn in this class if I'm not necessarily given the same resources and availability of a traditional face-to-face class. So how can we solve this? How can we fix these problems? The biggest thing that we can do is increase awareness on campus of the resources that there are for mental health. There are a lot of opportunities on Texas A&M's campus for mental health struggles, and if you are struggling to get the help you need and to get the help in your classes you need, but it's not as talked about as it should be. Increasing presentations, making posters and signs, no. Now, some people might be oblivious to these, some people might not take advantage of these opportunities, but there are some people who are just completely unaware, and making sure that everyone is aware and has the opportunity no matter what. Not being afraid, encouraging students to talk about what's going on, because sometimes you just need to talk about someone to get the ball rolling and get that help you need. And being honest, the only person who truly can know what is going on and how someone is feeling is the person themselves. Even though others around you might see that something's going on, if you are not honest about what's going on with yourself, nothing change can really happen. So mental health has been very invading college campuses, but it's definitely something fixable if colleges truly start to take action. So what our group has learned is that even though the societal expectations, academic stress, social pressure, and financial pressure have put a lot of stress for mental health students, but there are a lot of changes that can be made that our group members have shared today that can be influential in bringing mental health struggles percentages down on campus, and that can allow for college students to start to enjoy college and have that best time of their life instead of being brought down and struggling with their mental health. So thank you all for listening, and I hope that some change can occur.